students, welcome to class. I'm Miss Katie, that vegan teacher. Today I want to introduce you to a teacher, a colleague of mine. Her name is Trish, and she has a channel here called Teacher Therapy. We're going to have a look at what she has to say about student behavior, about a murder that took place, a stabbing and what happened afterwards. And well, let's just get right into it. She has an introduction song that we're going to listen to, and then we're going to listen to what she has to say about the demise of society.
Hi friends, this is Trish and welcome to Teacher Therapy. Today's topic is a really sad and difficult one, but I feel like it's really important to talk about it. So I just ask that you are respectful in the comment section, and I am completely open to hearing different perspectives than mine. But today I want to talk about the Carmelo Anthony case because I believe it really demonstrates what is wrong with America today.
Okay, I don't know if you heard about this case, but it was where one student stabbed another one at an event outdoors, and everything afterwards just started to be extremely weird, where the guy who did the stabbing ended up being able to raise $500,000, and everybody is sort of trying to understand, like, who is the victim and why is it that the person who did the stabbing seems to be getting all kinds of compliments. Anyway, let's listen to Trish.
I know that that's a big claim, but on this channel, I talk about mostly the problems that we're seeing in schools, but ultimately the problems that we're seeing in society as a whole, problems we're seeing with parenting, problems we're seeing with young people. And sadly, this case exemplifies everything. Now, in case you're not familiar with what happened, it's been reported that a student named Carmelo Anthony plunged a knife into the heart of another student named Austin Metcalf.
Okay, so we have Carmelo is the one who did the stabbing, and
Austin Metcalf then died in his twin brother's arms.
Austin died in his twin brother's arms.
There's been different details about what may have led up to these events, but the story that has been shared the most is that Carmelo Anthony went under a rival school's tent. He was approached by Austin Metcalf and asked to leave the tent. It's been said that Carmelo Anthony refused, and somewhere along the way, it sounds like a verbal altercation ensued, and at some point, Carmelo is alleged to say, "Touch me and see what happens, push me and see what happens," and he had his hand in the backpack, and at some point, he drives the knife into Austin Metcalf's heart. And again, this happened in the morning at a track meet with people everywhere. As horrific as this story is, the thing that has horrified me even more is people's reactions to this story.
Yeah, I agree with her. People's reaction to the story do not seem to be normal. And as a teacher, I understand what she is saying. Parents seem to these days think that their child is the center of the universe and can do no wrong. Back when I was a kid, if any teacher said something to a parent, then the parent would go home and discipline the child. Everything seems to be backwards these days. That is why so many teachers are quitting.
Very quickly, the killer, Carmelo Anthony, raised over $500,000. There were free Carmelo t-shirts made, free Carmelo hashtags made, and quickly, this young person was made into a hero. Very quickly, Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, expressed publicly that he forgives Carmelo Anthony and that he doesn't want this made into a racial issue. Yet Jeff...
Okay, so I guess there's different races involved. I don't know who's white and who is dark in this case, but apparently the dad of the person who died wanted to make peace. And that's when things went very strange.
Metcalf's family has been swatted 3 times. That's where people call in false allegations about a family so that the SWAT team surrounds that family house with weapons. It's a very scary and dangerous thing where people have lost their life. Well, that has happened to Jeff Metcalf, the father of the slain boy, the one who forgave Carmelo and has asked for there to be racial unity and
That's crazy. So imagine that. Your kid dies, is stabbed to death, and you are the kind of person who just wants peace and not to have any problems with race or in the community with follow-up violence. So you as a dad say, I forgive you to the killer. I mean, that takes a lot. One of his twin boys died. Now I'm pretty sure that he probably realizes that his own son had something to do with this. I guess. I don't know. I don't know really the details, but maybe Trish will tell us. If you guys know, talk about it in the comments as the video goes on. Let us know what you know so far and what your opinions are, especially with how you think that young people are these days in school. Are you a student in a classroom? Do you find that students behave well? Do they listen to the teachers? Are they disrespectful? Is it possible to learn in a classroom these days? Or is there too much disrespect? Let me know.
Reconciliation. I just utterly cannot believe what I have seen online. To make matters worse, Carmelo Anthony's family held a press conference, and Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff, comes to the press conference in order to reconcile and pray with the family. And then he gets kicked out of the press conference, and Dominic Alexander, the president of the Next Generation Action Network, proceeds to vilify the father. And the family is essentially made into the victim. The family of the son who committed the crime is made to look like the victim.
Everything sounds a little bit backwards, doesn't it? We must be missing some important information. It just sounds too strange.
In this situation, they're complaining about people saying mean things to them after what their son did. Carmelo is referred to as our baby, our boy, by Dominic Alexander.
So the killer is being referred to as our baby, our boy.
Focus of the whole press conference is on justice for Carmelo, the one who took somebody else's life. And Dominic Alexander proceeds to make this whole thing into a racial issue and talk about being a black man in America and call Jeff Metcalf disrespectful for wanting to come and reconcile and make peace with the family. Dominic Alexander also proceeds to blame shift everyone and everything except for Carmelo. He literally is upset with the school district for expelling the student who plunged a knife into the heart of another student.
What? This is crazy.
Student at a school track meet, and Dominic Alexander's qualm is with the school district.
The school? What did they do? They just were having a track meet.
He then proceeds to complain about the rain and why the school district didn't stop the track meet for drizzle.
What? What does that have to do with anything at all? They couldn't predict that a murder was about to take place? This is crazy.
I could not make this up if I tried. And the focus of the whole press conference is getting justice for Carmelo. There's just no words. It's hard to put into words how upsetting this is. To make matters more complicated.
Now what's interesting is I actually don't know yet who the dark-skinned person is. We know that there is somebody in this. I don't know if it's the victim or the perpetrator.
Carmelo only spent 12 days in jail. His $1 million bond was reduced to $250,000. It's been alleged that a rapper instantly paid for that bail. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but for sure the family has gotten $500,000.
Is it because the murder is dark or the victim is dark? I don't get it. I guess we're gonna find out.
Or more out of this situation. And my understanding is that oftentimes that money is returned to the family after the trial, regardless of the outcome. So it goes without saying that right now in America, somebody can do something terrible and become famous and supported and get money and somehow be the victim.
Well, we know that happens, right? We know how many people have looked at my channel and have gotten millions of followers by being cruel, by talking about how they like to hurt animals, eat them, pay people to kidnap them, stab them in the neck. Literally dozens and dozens, if not 100 different creators have done videos about me, and many of them have gotten quite famous by being cruel. Society is definitely backwards, and Trish knows this.
And as you guys already know, these are the problems that teachers are seeing in schools: the lack of discipline, the lack of accountability.
Every teacher I ever talk to says the exact same thing. I haven't worked in the classroom since COVID, but yeah, it can be pretty difficult. And when I was younger, when somebody got into trouble at school, the teacher would send the child to the principal's office, and it was a big scary thing. And back then you could actually be hit on the hand by the principal with a ruler or something. I just heard the rumors. I don't know. But you know, this is the way it used to be. And now, when you go to the principal's office, there's a jar of candies on the principal's office desk, and the principal tries to make friends with the student. This is kind of the new way of thinking. So what exactly is discouraging these children from behaving badly? I don't know. Something's really wrong.
Kids being able to do terrible things and still be considered the victim. And in this culture and society that we live in, the people that call out the wrongdoing are called the perpetrators. Anybody that says that something is wrong is accused of being authoritarian or racist.
Wow, that sounds so familiar, doesn't it? You all know the video that I did on my channel. It has over 2 million views, where I am quite literally talking about not being racist. And when you are cruel to animals, when you teach children to be cruel to animals, this leads onward to be cruel to people based on the way that they look. Where's my little doll? Hold on. Ah, here. Okay, here she is. If you haven't yet seen that video, go ahead and check it out. Here she is. She's vegan, and her friends are vegan. Her little pig friend is vegan, and her little dog friend is vegan, and she's vegan, and she wants to protect everyone. She doesn't eat animals. Now, because I said that everyone should be vegan regardless of their skin color, I was told that I was racist. Crazy. I think Trish understands what I'm doing. She does. Yeah. Well, let's keep listening.
Or fill in the blank of the words that are chosen. Our culture and our society is so upside down right now. And we just have to consistently ask ourselves the question, what are we teaching to kids? What do you think young people are learning by watching this happen? And by no means is this only a black crime issue. When Luigi committed the crime, he became famous overnight. And I was horrified by that too, that he was made into a hero and celebrated and called great things. So we have a crisis on our hands, and it's playing out in school, it's playing out in culture, it's playing out in society, and people need to speak clearly that this is wrong. We have a generation of people that are being raised without any accountability, and I really don't like to continue to bring up the racial issue, but as a teacher that 7 out of 8 years worked predominantly with students of color, this was something I saw all the time, and I really tried to raise the alarm. Young black students are infantilized, and it is the soft bigotry of low expectation.
Oh, I talked about this on my channel. Exactly. Yeah. You see, and I'm a little bit guilty of this. I remember every time that Black History Month came about in February, in the many years that I taught, I always wanted to draw attention to it. As an English teacher, I taught English to French kids, so they didn't know very much English at the time. But I always wanted to do something about the subject because I felt, yeah, it wasn't right to enslave black people. I should try to do something about it. And I tried to talk to different people about it who were dark, and they seemed to get angry with me. They said, because I said, what kind of a book do you think I could read? Do you have one that you suggest to children in primary school to let them know about some heroes from the past and to celebrate Black History Month? And I was told, well, you should do your own research. What are you asking me for? And things like that. Like, I was met with a fair amount of hostility that really surprised me. And I also remember when I did have children in the classroom who disrupted and who had dark skin, that I found myself treating them not as firmly as I would if they were white. This is the honest truth. I know that I gave them more chances because I had sort of internalized this feeling that, well, we have as a society done wrong to this community, so we have to do some reparations. And I was called out on it by a white kid who said, you know, if I did that, you would have been really angry with me and you would have called my parents. So why aren't you doing it with him? And I didn't really know what to say, but it happened a couple of times. And I guess there's this fear always that we're going to be called a racist, even if we try so hard to do the right thing. So it's very interesting to hear Trish mentioned this. Let's go back and listen to what
Students
she
of color.
calls this.
This was something I saw all the time, and I really tried to raise the alarm. Young Black students are infantilized.
The bigotry, the soft bigotry of low expectations.
And it is the soft bigotry of low expectation.
Okay, I don't know if she's going to talk about it, so I'm not going to say anything because maybe she's going to mention it herself, what exactly that means.
They're given excuses for terrible behavior. Allegedly, Carmelo's excuse for plunging a knife into...
Okay, well now we know who plunged the knife. It was Carmelo, who is dark.
The heart of another student was that he touched me. And I can't begin to tell you how many times I've tried to talk to parents and let them know that that isn't an excuse. Sadly, many young people today have no conflict resolution skills. They're taught to fight. They're taught if one person touches you, you better double it. They say if they push you, make sure they don't get up from the fight. And this is such a prevalent mentality that I've seen in all races. And I've had kids literally tell me, my mom or my dad said, if somebody touches me, you better do something about it. This is not a good thing to be teaching kids. There are so many different outcomes that could have happened that day. Some people say Carmelo went under the tent because it was raining and he wanted to be dry. Let's say that that was the case. If people came up to him and said, hey, this is our tent, you're not supposed to be under here. There was so many options. I'm sure if he smiled and was polite and said, hey, it's raining, do you mind if I sit under here? I'm just trying to be dry. There would have been a different outcome.
What do you think? Do you think that's true? You know, do you really think that race has anything to do with it? I remember one time when I was taking the subway in Montreal. I was a student going to become a teacher. I was already a registered nurse. And I was waiting, I had to wait for a bus had to come. And so I went inside where the subway is, you know, inside the doors to try to stay dry. And a police officer was there and he said, you're not allowed to stand here, even though there was like loads of space. So no loitering here. And he told me I had to leave. Now, I thought to myself, well, that's pretty mean. It's raining out. You're just going to push me out to the rain. But I guess what happens is that if this happens to somebody who has dark skin, they assume it's because they're dark. But at the time, I was a white woman in her 40s, early 40s. So I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but maybe sometimes we jump to conclusions. And now sometimes if I'm walking down the street and somebody looks at me funny, I think, oh, it's because they recognize me. I'm that vegan teacher. They probably don't even know who I am. They're probably just on their phone reacting to something that someone else said. The point being that we need to not jump to conclusions and just try to be, I guess, a little kinder to each other, which brings me to the subject of my necklace. I don't know if you can see it. It's pretty small today, but it says, don't hurt animals. So everybody here who has a strong opinion about this case, make sure that when you are writing in the comments that you don't have the corpses of innocent animals inside of you if you are going to judge the situation here, okay? There's no need to hurt anyone, regardless of your skin color, regardless of your age, your religion. You can be vegan, because being vegan means you are striving to do your best to not enslave animals, to not commodify them, utilize them, or exploit them. Okay? So do you understand what I mean when I say that speciesism is the first form of racism? Let's go back to our little doll here, okay? If you are cruel to animals, when you are young, you learn to be loving to some and cruel to others. Some people eat pigs. And some people say, well, we should only be kind to dogs, but not to the pig. But that doesn't make any sense. Just because the pig, it's different, doesn't mean that we should treat the pig differently. Pigs have as much right to live and to not be cut up as a dog does. Okay? Yeah. Let's keep listening a little bit.
If he would have said, oh, I'm sorry, my bad, I was just trying to get out of the rain, I'll go ahead and move, there would have been a different outcome. Even if the people that asked him to get out from under the tent that he wasn't supposed to be under were rude, we need to teach our kids how to deal with rude people in a way that doesn't involve somebody else going home in a casket. Sadly, there was another student that was interviewed that mentioned that Carmelo had been in fights before. And this to me comes back to an issue of parenting. And naturally, I don't know Carmelo's family, how he was raised, but the thing that I really like to tell people, parents, administrators, anybody that will listen, is if you give strong consequences to people when they're young, to your kids when they're young, then the idea is that they're gonna learn and they're not going to be doing these huge actions and thinking it's okay.
I totally agree with her. And as a primary teacher who taught all of the children in the school from grade 1 to grade 6, I saw a lot of this kind of stuff. I saw teachers being exasperated because there were no consequences that could really be given to the students. It was basically just they would go to a room and they would, lie down on a pile of pillows and try to relax and then come back into the classroom. And even students, we were told that we had to pass students who didn't do the work. We had to allow them to go on to the next grade even if they clearly did not understand the material. And we had parents calling the principals and saying, my child deserves a better grade on this assignment or this test, even though it was clear that so many answers were wrong. So I agree with Trish.
But the biggest battle that I've fought in schools and with parents is that parents these days don't even want to see their kid held out of recess. Parents these days and schools don't even want kids to get zeros on their assignments. So essentially,
she's absolutely right. They don't want them to, but they don't, after work, spend time with their children. They expect that the children are going to miraculously learn everything in school, but that's not the way it works. The reason that you have children is because supposedly you love them and you want to nurture and grow their minds and help their hearts become open. So you have to do your part. After work, don't get on your phone, don't spend time on your phone, and don't even give children phones at a young age at all. Push those things aside, help your child with homework, and be with them. Read to them every night. Bond that way. When it comes to exercise, do exercise together by walking outside and talking. Build your relationship without phones and with consequences to actions.
We have kids that are growing up with no understanding of cause and effect, and it's bleeding over into the law. And this is a crisis. And the thing that really hurts me is seeing so many young Black children and teenagers and young people being given a pass for violence, being given a pass for a lack of respecting authority and insubordination in schools and with store workers and principals and police. It's been horrifying to me to read the comments of people defending Carmelo's actions. And I've seen...
Yeah, I could see what she means. How about you? Do you see any of this in the schools, you guys who are students? Do you notice that the teachers treat the white children differently than the darker children? And is it an issue at all? Or is it just in the United States? Do you notice it elsewhere? Let me know. Remember to stay polite in the comment section. You know the rule. If you're not polite and if you don't use proper grammar and spelling, your comment will be deleted. Take the time to formulate a thought and to write it clearly. Okay?
Seen white people do it and Black people do it in comment sections. And people think that being anti-racist means not having consequences when somebody is wrong. And I have to tell you, it is not racist to hold people accountable.
Exactly. And this is why I go after everybody when it comes to not being vegan. If somebody is not vegan, I don't care if they're white, I don't care if they're Black, I don't care if they're short or tall or fat or skinny. I don't care what their age is. I don't care about any of that. What I'm trying to say on my channel is that everybody can strive to be vegan. And that includes Trish. That includes you, Trish. Hopefully, as you are here, sitting here, talking about right and wrong, and good and evil, and consequences, that you realize the consequences of your own actions. If you're being fueled right now by the corpses of innocent animals, and you haven't bothered to watch the important documentary called Dominion, I encourage you to do so. Maybe you never gave it a thought before about what happens to the animals. I don't know. But you should know, and you should be vegan. You should not be consuming milk or any dairy products or the animals at all, none of them. You shouldn't be stealing the eggs from chickens. You know that stealing is wrong, and you know that killing is wrong. And so I hope that you are vegan, and if not, you should be from now on.
The egg industry is just a cycle of misery. They lie to you endlessly. Don't buy eggs, walk away. Go to egg-truth.com today.
Let's listen a little more.
not racist to give consequences when somebody does the wrong thing. In fact, that is love. Boundaries are love. Discipline is loving. And when we don't have boundaries and discipline in society, in schools, in the home, we eventually get anarchy. And that's where everybody does whatever they feel like doing to whoever they feel like doing it to, and they believe they're justified. Some people might agree with me, but I do not think Carmelo Anthony's bail should have been lowered from $1 million. In fact, I don't even think it should have been offered. I think he should be in jail right now.
I totally agree with her. If you have witnesses around and you know for sure that he stabbed the other person in the heart, he should be in jail. Why is there bail at all?
Again, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think his family should have allowed him to be bailed out for what he did. There has to be consequences. And as much as
you see what she's saying not just the society, but even his own parents. His own parents should have said, excuse me, you stabbed a child? You stabbed somebody? No, you're not getting out of jail. We're not giving you any help. You stabbed somebody, you will face the consequences. But neither the society, neither his own parents are acting appropriately in this situation.
You love your family member, that can't supersede right from wrong. One of the saddest things about that press conference, aside from the grieving father being kicked out and villainized, is the fact that there was so little acknowledgement of the loss of life. One line out of approximately 30 minutes was a sort of condolence from the mother, but it was said in such a passive way that if somebody didn't know the details and the circumstances, they would have no idea that it was her son that was responsible. I don't think there should have been a press conference for Carmelo's family at all, but if there was, the very first thing that should have come out of everybody's mouth is, I am so sorry for what my son did.
She's right. That's exactly what the parents should have said. Their child murdered somebody. They should be apologizing. They should be saying, I don't know what went wrong, but I am so sorry that my child did this.
I'm so sorry that your son isn't here anymore. But instead, we heard the family's representative just complaining about how he is a victim and the family is a victim. Well, let me remind you guys of something. I remember a time long, long ago where you taught your kids not to shame the family name. People would say it all the time. They would say, don't bring shame to this family for what you've done. Now we have a family whose son has brought shame to the family and they're feeling sorry for themselves. I just don't understand it. It's so twisted. I am all about having compassion. I am all for forgiveness and redemption, but not without consequences and not without accountability. People can turn their lives around in prison. People can apologize from prison. But the way this case has been handled so far is horrifying. And I'm just gonna say it doesn't do the Black community any favors. Two wrongs don't make a right. I have seen people saying the most insane things. I've heard people saying that slavery is what killed Austin Metcalf.
How? What did that have to do with anything? Nobody is a slave in this situation. They're in a high school. It's raining out. There's a sporting event and there's a tent.
I have no words. One of the biggest dangers for people is to become what they hate. And that is a really disturbing trend that I'm seeing amongst people here in America. They talk about injustice, yet feel free to commit injustice. That does.
Interesting. I feel the same way as an animal rights activist. I talk about injustice and I talk about how it's not okay. And yet, regardless of what I say to defend the innocent victims, the billions of animals who are in Holocaust-like conditions, pigs at 6 months old, are being put into gas chambers. They're being murdered in the same way that the Nazis murdered the Jews in World War II. When I talk about this, a normal reaction would be, that's terrible. Everyone should be saying, oh my goodness, if we don't eat dogs, we shouldn't be eating pigs. Every parent should be saying this. Every child should be saying this. And Trish should be saying this. Trish should be vegan. If you aren't yet vegan, and I hope you're listening to this, Trish, you should be. All teachers should be vegan. All schools should be vegan. There should be no dead animals allowed to be brought into a school. Not for dissection, not for eating, not at all. Same as churches, same as hospitals. All of these places should be vegan only. That's it. Why on earth in a hospital would you bring in dead bodies and feed them to people who are trying to get better? Society is completely backwards.
Doesn't balance the scales. That doesn't cancel it out. I remember how Martin Luther King Jr. said that the dream of his life was for people to be known by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And I feel like that sentiment is completely gone now. People are judged solely as being good or bad based on the color of their skin, and I thought we were supposed to be against that. One definition of racism is a belief that race is a fundamental determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. That can go either direction. And when people online are saying that Austin Metcalf got what he deserved for being white, that is racism. And any race, any...
Okay, wow. So here we have it, a dark-skinned teacher saying that racism towards white people is a thing. It is possible. She's right. She's right, and you should not be ashamed to say it. If somebody is pointing at your skin color and saying that you are less worthy because of the skin that you're born into, regardless of what your parents or your ancestors did, has nothing to do with you. She's right that people should be judged by the contents of their character and not the color of their skin, but also the contents of their intestines. That's right. Be kind. Be vegan. Start now. Should we listen to the last bit? I'm sort of curious. Let's listen to the last 3-4 minutes.
color, any ethnicity can be racist, contrary to what modern people would say. And my hope is that social media is distorting the reality of what the average person thinks. And
I often hope that too, Trish. I think to myself, I look at the comment section, and because we cannot see the faces of the people behind there, in my mind I'm thinking, okay, hopefully these are all just 13-year-olds who are just acting like really immature. But the truth of the matter is, when you look online at places like Instagram and you see people in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s and older saying some very weird stuff, defending bad behavior, I'm not sure that we can have that much hope, Trish, unfortunately.
America, because sometimes insane opinions go viral. So I'm hoping well over 90% of people in America would see this case and not side with Carmelo Anthony and say that what he did was right. But if even 10% of Americans think it's right, we're in trouble. So it's got to be up to parents and leaders and celebrities to set the record straight and say, no, we don't condone this. No, the standard is not, if you touch me, you get a knife to the heart and it's fine. No, we don't make heroes out of people that take other people's lives. It's the only way to get through this. So I don't know what else to say in this video other than I'm just horrified by what I've seen. I'm horrified by it. And if you have a kid, please talk to them. You'd be surprised about what your kids are taking in on social media. And it's very apparent that morals and values are in big trouble in this country right now. So please talk to your kids. Please don't be bullied by somebody calling you racist. I know people will call me racist for this video. It's happened already. But right is right and wrong is wrong. And it doesn't matter the color of the person that is perpetuating right from wrong.
Way to go, Trish.
We've got to stick with that. So that's all I have to say for now. I know that this was a heavy video, but it's just been on my heart so strong and I felt like I had to say something.
Thank you so much for that. Guys, let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree with her? If you don't, you can say why, but just give a really good reason. Explain it in words properly. Don't be mean. Don't be racist. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.
Let's follow that vegan teacher on YouTube right now. Let's